And this is Linda Bennett. We are back with Metaphysically Speaking. And my executive producer just reminded me of an expression I used to use a lot, and that is, not all girls are good, and not all boys are bad. So remember, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you've got your ducks in a row, etc. So how do you view men, ladies? And men, how do you view women? And I don't want to hear this from anyone. This is what I don't want to hear. Oh, it's how I was raised. It's how my father treated my mother. It's how my mother treated my father, so that's why I'm the way I am. Well, that's horse feathers. Because it should be an example to you of not how to behave. So many batterers say, well, it's how I was raised and I came out okay. No, you didn't. If you're battering, if you're harming, you're a nut. You're a monster. If you're harming others, you are a monster. If you harm animals, if you harm children, you should be put in a hole with a cage and left there, thrown a piece of meat every now and then. There is no excuse for harming others. So don't tell me how you were raised, because I was raised by two alcoholics. I don't smoke, drink, or do drugs, and I'm a vegetarian, and I meditate.
And you're a lovely person.
And I'm a lovely, gracious person.
It's true.
And I fought with the priests and told them they were lying to us by saying the only way you could get to heaven is by being a Catholic. I said that is a lie. And eventually, they invited me not to come back to class anymore.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, what is it when we see women behaving badly
towards other women? That is the jealousy. That is the fear that they've had to work so hard to get where they are. Whether they're the principal in the school, or they're the CEO of a company, or they're the head of the PTA or the junior league, whatever it is. I just thought of a funny joke. I can't tell on the air. Oh my gosh, never mind. I'll tell you afterwards. A doctor told me this joke. A doctor friend of mine told me this joke. They're afraid that their power will be taken away if somebody younger and prettier and smarter comes along. And bullies, which is what they are, always want you to be destabilized. So they'll give you slightly wrong information. You'll base your premise or your report on this slightly wrong information. Then you'll be castigated for being stupid or not doing your research when you were purposely given the wrong information. Now, men do this to other men as well. There are people who are so mired down in being bullies that they don't want anyone to come near their qualities, when you should always surround yourself with people who are equally as smart, if not smarter, because you learn from each other. To me, it is particularly tragic when women turn against each other, when they're ugly to each other. Oh, you see this in school. We saw it with the pretty girls being mean to those of us who are not so pretty. Or saying, oh, that dress looks really great on you, when you look like a rag picker that day. Other things that all of us, if we think about it as females in school, can remember. The ugly, mean things that other girls did. And they were the popular girls, with whom I never quite figured it out. But nevertheless, they are terrified of losing their own power. They're terrified, especially as they get older, of not accepting the fact that as you get older, you're supposed to be getting smarter. You're supposed to be gaining wisdom. And in gaining wisdom, you do something that is very important. It is called mentoring. Women should be mentoring. Mothers should be mentoring their children with the fathers. And that doesn't mean turn them into baseball players, because that's what they wanted to be and their father wouldn't let them. It means mentoring them to do the things that they specialize in and they enjoy. Not what you enjoy, what they enjoy. Mentoring them to be kind, gracious people. Polite people in society. I was in the supermarket yesterday, and this mother had one on her hip, and the other looked like he was about 2 years old. And every time, and he was adorable. I mean, he was cute as a little bug. And he was standing in the middle of the aisle, and I needed to get by. I said, "Excuse me, sir, do you think you could move off to the side?" And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I have to get by, and I don't want him to send you flying." Well, the mother cracked up, and she said, "Get over here. You know better than that. Say you're sorry to the lady." He said, "Okay." She said, "I said, say sorry to the lady." "Okay." "I'm sorry." I said, "Thank you. That was very gracious of you." So we were sort of following each other around. You know how they do that in the aisle? And the kids are there, and the little one is looking at everything and pointing at everything while the little boy is examining things. And finally, we're at the same checkout counter. She was in front of me, and I was unloading the groceries. And the girl, the cashier, gave something to the little boy. She gave him a lollipop for being so sweet and helpful, because he was helping Mommy take the food out of the cart and put it on the counter, although he could barely reach the counter. And so I said, I really have to thank you for being such a great mother. I said, "You are teaching your children manners." She said, "They're going to learn them." She said, "Because I'm not raising hooligans." I said, "Good for you." So she said, "Manners are something I was raised with, my husband was raised with, and that's how we're raising our children. I wish every other mother would raise their kids, because I'm sick of what goes on at the school meetings." And she started going on. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "No, obviously you've been through the ringer at the school meeting." She said, "Obviously." And I said, "Well, thank you, because these are two great kids." The little boy looks up and says, "Thank you." That was the only unprompted thank you that I heard the whole time I was in the store. But he heard what I was saying, and he knew what I was saying. So you don't need to be the biggest, the smartest, the bestest, the prettiest, whatever. You just need to be doing a really great job at what you're doing, and you need to be passing along the knowledge. Teachers are required to teach, and teaching isn't just the lesson. It's the lesson of the lesson. It's the wisdom of learning what you're learning. Teachers are mentoring their students. A martial arts teacher mentors the students. A yoga teacher, a ballet teacher, a piano teacher teaches not only the notes on the piano, but the things that you can anticipate as you proceed with your lessons and as you go through different stages, and what happens when you try jazz, what happens when you go back to classical, what happens when you get older, what happens if kids make fun of you because piano may not be in at the moment. Politicians should mentor younger politicians. Spiritual teachers mentor their students, because mentoring is required. It's required of smaller societies, it's required in tribes, it's required in cities, because you must pass along the wisdom of how to do things the right way, the wrong way, what'll happen if you don't, blah, blah, etc. There was something on bridges the other night, and the Minnesota tragedy several years ago where the bridge collapsed. They discovered that the plates that held the structuring together were not thick enough. They were only a half an inch thick. And I said to myself, I'm not an engineer. Even I can figure out half an inch is not thick enough. Had they been done an inch thick, the tragedy never would have happened. Okay, now the whole world knows that. So that mistake should never happen again. So mentoring is teaching the next generation and spreading the knowledge to your contemporaries. When women are ugly to each other, they're also being ugly